Hello, we are here for Shawano Virtual Programming for our Shawano County Library. We are visiting Jesse Hoffman at J. Hoffman Knives here in Shawano, and he is going to be giving us a demonstration of his absolutely gorgeously made knives, all sorts of different variety. Welcome, Jesse.
Hi, thanks for coming.
What are you going to show us first?
First, what I'm going to be doing is I've got some blade blanks that I profiled this morning. I've got to drill a couple holes in the tang, and then I'm going to do a heat treat, but I need to drill the holes before the steel gets hardened.
And what's the machine that you're going to be using to do that?
The machine is a older Powermatic variable speed drill press, and this is actually the drill press that came out of the Shawano High School. When I was a student there many years ago, I used this exact drill press, so I'm happy to have it still in my shop and being useful. Okay, and that's all there is to it. You'll notice I put these two eye hooks in here right before I started drilling, and that is to prevent something called helicoptering, which if the drill bit grabs the blade, it starts to swing around and becomes a dangerous item. So these right here prevent that from being able to spin, so that they're sulking and this oven gets up to 2200 degrees, and I've had it that high. It's quite okay. So I've got some blades that have been in my my even heat kiln for about 10 minutes now at 1480 degrees. I'm going to be pulling them out and I'm going to be quenching them, and the quenching is going to make them very hard. It's also going to make them very brittle, almost like glass. So I need to be careful that once they're coming out of the oil, I'm going to quench them in this quench oil down here. The quench oil is specifically designed for quenching steel. That's all it's used for, and it's all you really should use. So we're going to be taking these out. And we're going to hold them in there for about 10 seconds. And you just kind of move it back and forth a little bit to prevent an air jacket from creating itself around it and preventing it from cooling. They're still very hot. They're probably about 600 degrees yet, even after being quenched. And we'll do the other ones right away.
How long does that take then to cool down that you can start to work with it?
It'll cool down to room temperature in probably 20 minutes or so, and they'll be safe to touch. This is just a ceramic plate that I have over here to set them on and keep them upright. And the last one.
How many can you fit in there at one time?
The kiln itself is about 10 inches wide and about 24 inches deep. So I can fit quite a few in there. I like to keep them neat and in a row. I have seen other knife makers that literally shovel them in there and then have a big bucket of oil that they just drag them out and drop them in the oil. So you can fit quite a few in there if you need. So this is the first one that I took out, and you'll notice that it turned black. That's just some scale, and I'll be able to grind that off. And like I said, they're still pretty hot, but I've got gloves on, so I'm able to touch them for a while. So, okay, so first thing I'm going to show you, or one of the things I'm going to show you, is how I grind a bevel. And this is going to be ground on a Burr King BBA 20. There's very few of these machines out there, but it has a 20-inch contact wheel and gets about 6,500 surface feet per minute of the belt moving. It's a 60 grit ceramic belt, and we'll get her fired up. You can see how I'm starting to grind back, and I'm just working my way back to where my plunge cut is going to be. So I've got the one side, this is rough ground, is what I consider to be rough ground with the 60 grit finish. I'll be able to put a 120 grit belt on here and work myself all the way up to a 400 grit belt. And that'll be the final finish. So the final finish that I'm going to put on this knife is done with what's called a Scotch-Brite belt. And this is actually the same material that you use to scrub your pots and pans with. It's a 3M product, but it's on a 2x72 inch belt. So when it comes time to fitting a handle to the knife, I pick out a block of wood or a set of scales, and a set of scales would just be two thin pieces of material. This is paper micarta. And I lay the knife out on that material and I trace around it so I have a general shape. And then I mark my front and my rear pinhole. And actually then I need to put where my front of my handle is going to be. And I sketch that on my blade. Just like that. And then I connect it. So that will be what my handle looks like. I'll drill out my holes, which will line up with my pinholes that were pre-drilled on the handle. The pins that I use to hold everything together are what is known as Corby bolts. And they are small shouldered bolts that I screw the handle together, and then I grind down the little tabs, so you end up with just a silver pin, or what it looks like a pin, but it's actually a fastener holding the handle materials on. The handle materials are also always held on with marine grade epoxy, so it helps keep moisture out, and they'll stay on there forever.